Good evening and welcome to Election Night 2004. I'm Jennifer Childs.
And I'm Lila Bleeker. Thank you for joining us this evening as we bring you live coverage for as long as it is necessary tonight. We want to bring you the highlights of national races and state propositions, but really we're focusing on our local races like the College Bond Measure R and the Hospital Board.
Hospital Board, plus we have the Antelope Valley Kern Water Board. We also have, of course, countywide, we have Measure A, which is the half-cent sales tax, which everyone is looking at. Of course, many state propositions that are very controversial out here in California, and so many local races. And we've got live team coverage around the valley. So actually, here's some first results from the AV Hospital Board race. And as you can see, we have Dr. John Manning, Dr. Christine Cambridge, and Dr. Abdallah Farouk appear to have the lead at this point in the AV Hospital Board race. Dr. Abdallah Farouk, the incumbent, and Christine Cambridge and Dr. John Manning are the challengers, and they're ahead.
Now we're also looking at our 25th District Representative and Buck McKeon. Not too much of a surprise there, coming in at 70%. And beating out his rival, the Democratic rival there. So now we move on to the 36th District Member of Assembly.
That's right, Sharon Runner, of course, handily winning this seat, of course, the Republican incumbent for a second term. So she is beating, and in the State Senate 17th District, Sharon's husband, George Runner, handily beating in that seat, and he's got the 17th District, 63%, George Runner, and if these two win,
That's
of course,
right, it's a big deal.
Big deal.
Because they're making history.
Yes, they are. Yes,
they become
are.
the first husband and wife to serve in our state legislature.
Together at the same time. And here's the Antelope Valley East Kern Water District, and this is, what is this? Maurice Kunkel and David Rizzo. Rizzo is the incumbent, and he is ahead at this point in the night.
Now, not all precincts are reporting yet. The polls closed at 8 o'clock this evening, so we are bringing you the latest as we get it from the County Registrar Recorder's Office. And here's what we're looking at for president. Now, this is still a close race. President Bush is leading with more than 200, I think it's about 246 electoral votes, and Kerry's got 206 last that we're hearing right now with projected winnings. But Ohio is still out, so that could be the big stickler.
And here's Measure A, the half-cent sales tax hike, and that would affect the county. And this is ahead, yes, 57% to no, 42%. However, Measure A does need two-thirds vote, 66% to pass. So even though it's ahead, as you can see on your screen, Measure A does need 66%, a two-thirds majority to pass, and that would raise our sales taxes here in the county and by a half cent.
And here, well, let's go ahead and move on to Measure R, the AV College Bond. Now, this one needed 55%, and it's got it. It's 63.77 right now, and that means that the college is going to go for a $139 million bond, which will help so much. They've been so overcrowded there, and a lot of locals were really pushing for this one, so it looks like the community's really come behind our Measure R, the college bond, to have new facilities, new buildings, and just keep up with student growth there at the college.
Yes, and this would put about $19 per $100,000 value on the home.
This was a surprise, Prop 66, because Arnold Schwarzenegger came out, our governor came out and said no on 66, but it looks like the people are saying for the first time, Governor, we're not following you on this one.
That's right. It's got a yes of 58%, no 41%, Prop 66. So, you know, the polls were kind of up and down in this proposition.
Now, so you spoke of team coverage earlier, Jennifer, and we've got 3 people out and about checking out the local parties, because there are several local parties going on. Our Mitchell Chase is live at the Republican headquarters. Let's go ahead and check in with them. Mitchell.
There's no way I can hear you. There's absolutely no way I can hear you. We are live at Republican headquarters. The TVs are on. We're watching the returns nationally and then trying to keep track of what's happening locally. The runners are here. You all could be, for the first time, the first husband and wife team to serve in state government. What do you think? How are you feeling tonight?
I'm excited. It'll be great to spend every night with my husband again after 8 years of being apart, about 9 months of the year, 4 days a week. So It's a great opportunity to serve our people we've grown up with in the Antelope Valley.
Now watch this. How many want the runners? Now, this is a question you don't want to ask over here. Are there any Democrats? We are definitely at Republican headquarters. George, I know that are you ready to be in office with your wife? And it's got to be something else.
We're excited about it. It's a great opportunity. We're so grateful for the people of the high desert to put us both forward for this responsibility, and we're just glad to be on the same personal schedule for the first time in 8 years. So we're really excited about that.
Well, this is really going to be great. What we're going to do is, let's see, I'll give you a chance to look back in here, check out the crowd, a huge crowd that's here. It's Republican headquarters. Of course, as Lila and Jennifer have been reporting, the presidential race so close, and we'll just have to keep our eye on that. But you know what? We're going to keep getting updates from here at Republican headquarters. This is just something else here in the Antelope Valley. And if you have a question, Lila or Jennifer, you can. Now you can't because I can hear you.
Okay, well, that's good to know, Mitchell. Mitchell, how many people I mean, it's a huge crowd, it looks like, but can you give us a guess? We love asking how many people are at the parties, does it look like? Can you hear us?
Well, you know what? How many
At
people at the
party
party? If I were looking at how many party people in the house? Let's see. Literally, there's probably about
I think so,
150, but don't call the fire marshal, and I'm not telling you where we are.
But I think they've got a clear 100% there for the runners.
Oh yes, oh yes. It's a very much a strong support, strong backing there, and an unofficial estimate, but quite a lot of supporters. So we
I
believe.
think so. All right, Mitchell, thank you. We'll check
All
back
right.
with you in a bit.
Thanks,
You
Mitch.
got it.
Yeah, and we have team coverage tonight. Mitchell, of course, live at the Republican headquarters, but we also have reporter Lori Brown and, of course, anchor Bob Montague out in the field at the different election night parties. And, of course, Bob Montague here, a longtime person here, and he is out at the Democratic headquarters, where we're going to have some reports from him. Bob?
With Larry Cimboli. Larry, it's an honor. How are you?
Great pleasure for me to be here. The Democrats are so enthusiastic tonight.
Now, this is proof positive that you're not the only Democrat in the Antelope Valley, isn't that right?
Yeah, that was Greg Anderson that said that.
There's a lot of people here tonight. I understand you're happy with the voter turnout. I know when I went to vote this morning, the line was around the block.
Well, I think one thing we have to thank Mr. Bush and Mr. Kerry for is this turnout. It's magnificent. I talked to people earlier today, young people who had voted for the first time. I talked to a woman, 30-year-old woman who had voted for the first time. And again, the enthusiasm has been engendered by the great campaign that's been put on by these two people. I mean, you can only pick one, but you got to give them credit for putting on a good campaign.
Now, it's exciting to talk to a first-time voter, but I know you're one of the long-time voters, and I understand that you voted back in the Abraham Lincoln presidency.
No, I missed Abraham Lincoln because I did make Franklin Roosevelt. I think this is my 17th presidential election. So I've seen a lot of presidents and a lot of candidates.
Congratulations. Have you ever seen a turnout quite like this before?
No, nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm thrilled at the idea that the young people are getting out there. I just heard something on the radio about some kids down in San Diego who had waited in line for 2 hours. And we've been complaining about the kids not getting out and casting their votes. Well, apparently they're doing it today.
Now, how about your family? Have you encouraged everybody to get out and vote? I know you vote absentee ballot.
I vote absentee because I like to think about it. My wife is the socialite in the family, and she likes to get to the polls. We have a granddaughter who lives with us until just this year when she got her own apartment, and she voted absentee, so she's copying Grandpa. It doesn't make any difference how you vote. Absentee is such a convenient thing. I'm what you call an absentee voter, a permanent absentee voter, and I automatically get that ballot in the mail. I have a lot of time to think about it. And I've been around a long time, and I know some of the ins and outs of this politics stuff. And it's still very difficult for me, especially when you have a ballot this long. And I think the long ballot in California probably accounts for the long lines that we're seeing, because it takes people a long time to get their votes cast in it.
I spent 2 hours in the voting line today. They didn't send our ballots or the sheet to sign in on, so they sent us to another polling place, and they were just overwhelmed. But I think next time I'm going to go absentee. That seems to be the way to go.
I started doing that when I was in the legislature because I wasn't ever in town. There's nothing that says you can't do it even if you are in town. That's why I do it. I think it's very convenient.
Now, for those of you that don't know, we're almost right across the street from the Larry Cimboli Cultural Center, and I had to mention that because last time I was here, you didn't have that building, but now you do. So congratulations.
I don't really have it, but that's a great honor. That's a great honor, and I never can express how deeply grateful I am for what the city of Palmdale did in putting my name on that building. I tried to get them to give me 25 cents for everybody that goes in and out the building, but they refused to do that.
I don't understand why. I can't see that.
Because I'm not a good salesman, that's why.
Let's talk about some of the measures that mean something to you. Obviously, there's Measure R, and then there's the big hospital race.
Well, the hospital race, I've told people that was the most important election here today. After all, California is pretty well committed to Kerry, and that's the way it's going to go. Not to say that people should cast the vote, but the hospital election is a matter of life and death. Doing something about the poor service at the emergency room, doing something about better health care in the South Antelope Valley. The county isn't doing it. The only organization we have to deal with on that issue is the hospital itself because it's a taxpayer-owned hospital. So that's an extremely important election. And the issue on the tax for the college is extremely important. This is a growing area. There are people coming in here all the time. We're building thousands of new homes, and there are going to be some kids coming out of that, and they're going to want to go to college. Plus the fact that if we're ever to get a branch of the community college here in the South Valley, here in Palmdale, then that measure has to pass. That becomes a very important part of the issue.
Now, I noticed that measure got a lot of bipartisan response too and support.
Well, it should, because it's a bipartisan issue. I mean, nobody asks you whether your kid is a Republican or a Democrat when he signs up to go to community college. And people recognize the importance of that kind of an education. Well, yeah, it's a bipartisan issue, and I'm certainly pleased. I'm sure there are other Democrats besides me that have supported it.
Larry Cimboli, the first mayor of Palmdale, how do you feel about all this growth? I almost can't believe it.
Well, I guess I can't believe it, really. People oftentimes ask me, is this what you envisioned? And I'd like to say, yeah, I was a very, very smart man, and I envisioned just what has taken place. It's not true. We just wanted to be a better community. We wanted a better place for people to live, and we had some real interested people that were able to put their money and their efforts to accomplishing the incorporation of the city of Palmdale. And I think what we did was give the present officials a great gift, and they're doing a good job building on the gift that we gave them.
Thank you for being a great elder statesman, Larry.
Elder I am. Thank you.
That's it from Democratic headquarters. Now back to you in the studio.
Bob, thank you for that. Now let's talk about Measure R a little bit more. That is the college bond measure. It's worth $139 million. It would cost families approximately $19 a year per $100,000 worth of home value. And it's ahead right now, 63.77%. This is a real boost for the college. And if you talk to any college student around the Antelope Valley who didn't get into class they'll tell you that we needed this bond measure pretty greatly, and so a lot of people have been pushing for it, and we actually have some coverage on that.
Yeah, Lori Brown is talking with Ron Smith, and they're over at the Measure R victory party over in, that is in Quartz Hill, I believe. So we're going to take it out to Lori Brown.
Ladies, I'm still here in Quartz Hill at the Measure R party. Right now I am with Ron Smith, who is the chairman of the campaign. Now, Ron, you mentioned that there is an overwhelming support from political leaders for this measure, and talk to me about that.
Yes, this bond measure, we've had an overwhelming broad-based support of Republicans and Democrats, and I think it's the first time that you'd ever see a unanimous vote from both the city of Lancaster and the city of Palmdale deciding on exactly the same thing. And we've had just overwhelming support from businesses and individuals here in the Valley for this ballot measure.
Okay, now you mentioned that you are a part-time teacher at the Antelope Valley College. How important is Measure R to you and to the school?
Well, to the school, it's very important. We're turning away about 3,000 students a year right now. Take, for instance, our nursing program. We graduated 53 nurses, and you know how short we are in the hospitals for nursing. They took jobs at the hospital, but we turned away 108 students that wanted to take microbiology, which is a prerequisite for the nursing program. So for the college, building a new biology department, expanding with the growth of this community, you can see all the housing that we're building out here, and that means more students in the future.
Now we heard that the Measure R is up right now in the ballots. It's the yes vote is high. How confident are you that it's going to pass?
I'm real confident that it's going to pass. We, with the large community that we have in the voting, you can remember that we had Measure A in the city of Lancaster, which is a very conservative city, and it got about 48% of the vote. And this is a real popular measure. This is for the college students and for the jobs and for the future.
Now, as a campaign chairman, what went into this type of campaign?
We were running a big mailer campaign, signs, phone banks, try to get the information to tell people what the ballot measure was about.
Okay, well, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. We really do appreciate it. Now, ladies, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio from Quartz Hill.
Lori, thank you. And I believe they're at Dr. Fisher's house, who is the president of the college, who's definitely been pushing for this. That means a lot for the college to get this bond. New buildings, helping out the South Valley site.
Right.
And maintaining old buildings, too.
Because this valley is growing. I mean, like gangbusters. High Desert is as well, and you have all these people coming in, and the higher education needs really need to be expanded to accommodate all these people coming in, because they're going to need somewhere to go to school, and
That's right.
AV College is the people. Now we have some new numbers here on the AV Hospital Board, and as you can see, still a big lead here by Dr. Manning coming in, and Dr. Farouk, the incumbent, at 13%, he's ahead, and also we have Dr. Christine Cambridge at 14%. Now, there's 3 seats open on the AV Hospital Board. Steve Fox, the incumbent, really behind here at 10%. So Fox is behind, and he is the incumbent, and he was going for another term, but it looks like he's got quite a bit of competition here from Dr. Christine Cambridge and Dr. John Manning. 3 seats open on this board, and so this should be some interesting changes here.
Well, and here we're looking at the 25th District Representative, Buck McKeon. No surprise there. He's winning with 70%. We'll put him back in for another term. And going back to the hospital board, there was another candidate who was an interesting candidate. I think a lot of people perked their ears up when they heard that the former CEO of the hospital was running. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That's right. Well, Matthew Abraham, of course, the former CEO of Antelope Valley Hospital, who is now involved in litigation. He's suing the hospital for wrongful termination and slander. And, of course, he is running. Doesn't have a lead at this point, though, but yeah, he's running and trying to regain his some work there at the hospital. Now, here's the 36th district, and, of course, Sharon Runner, Republican, is ahead. 69%, the incumbent for a second term against Horton Siano with 30%. He's an AV College instructor. I'm sure he's happy about Measure R, though, but
Right.
he's behind him there. And then State Senate District 17, George Runner taking the seat left open by the late State Senator Pete Knight. And George Runner ahead there.
That's right. And so that'll make a first for our California legislature for a husband and wife to be serving at the same time. So we're pretty proud of that, I guess, here in the Antelope Valley, that we get to have a first like that, a historical first. Now here's the East Kern Water District, and Rizzo, the incumbent, is ahead there.
That's right, above Kunkel. And back to our presidential. Now look at these. Now we have the electoral votes up here, and as you can see, George W. Bush, president incumbent, at 246, John Kerry at 207. Now they need 270 electoral votes to win, and George Bush is ahead at this moment in time.
Ohio is a big key state, though, that they're still wondering about. In fact, some people were waiting in line for 4 hours after the polls closed there at one site in Ohio, so the numbers are just trickling in for Ohio. Measure A, half-cent sales tax for the county. This was a big one pushed by our sheriff, Lee Baca, who wants more cops on the streets, basically. And it's looking like the people are saying yes to that. However, that one needs a 66%. So if they don't make it, then even though it looks like it's more popular, it's not going to pass.
And Measure R is ahead, very, very easily leading there. Yes, 63%, no, 36%. Measure R, as we were talking about, is ahead, and that's doing very well for the college district.
Now, as we're looking at Prop 66, this has been a bit of a surprise here. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is having a party, I believe, in L.A. somewhere tonight. But this was something he did not want to pass. This is the reform of the 3 strikes law. He was pushing to keep it the same. And it looks like California voters are saying, no, we want a change on that.
Yeah, it would basically take some of the teeth out of 3 strikes. It would mean that new strikes would have to be a violent or serious felony only. They also reclassified many crimes that as not violent and serious. Now we go on to Prop 68, the gambling expansion. No, 80%. This looks like pretty much going to pass here, and this is expanding of commercial gambling in California.
And so, and that's the same for Prop 70 was known. So that is a win for our governor, who went out and definitely campaigned for no on 68 and 70. And he said, hey, let me negotiate these compacts with the Indian tribes. And
it looks like Californians agree to them. And this is Prop 71, the stem cell research funding. Yes, 64%, no, 35%. Now this would, the state of California would take out basically a $3 billion loan for stem cell research funding. And this stem cell research to, look at research for basically for different diseases, to cure different diseases.
And Governor Schwarzenegger was for that one, so
yes.
that's another win in his pocket. Now we're going to actually check back over at the Party Central at the Republican headquarters with Mitchell Chase.
Well, you know what? We're at Republican headquarters, and everybody's just glued at the TV. They're watching it. What was that? 4 more years! What was that? 4 more years! Well, 4 more years! 4 more years! People are getting a chance to stand with President Bush. He's right there. There you go. Republican headquarters. There's nothing like being in the United States of America and enjoying the election. And with us right now, Lisa, you're the coordinator for all of the volunteers. And the volunteers for the runners and for the Republican Party
right.
up here in the Antelope Valley.
Right.
Just as you look back over this has been a tough election.
It has been, but I tell you, we have the best volunteers in the Valley. They are awesome, and they have done a great job. I stepped in a little bit late, taking over the job, and was so blessed to have so many people that came back from 2000, the election from 2000, came back, knew what to do, stepped in, stepped up to the plate. It was awesome. They did a great job.
What are some of the things the volunteers do besides like knocking on the doors? But what are some of the other things behind the scenes?
Answering phones, just being here, answering questions when people come in, doing phone calls, making calls, reminding people to vote, letting them know about propositions. A lot of people today, we were telling people where they needed to vote. People didn't get their sample ballots, so we would go on the computer and let them know where their polling places were. That was really important today. So it was great, a great group of volunteers. Could not have done it without them.
When you saw the different polling places today, what was it like? It's some of them very crowded, some of them no wait.
Everything I heard, everybody was crowded. I know when I went, I usually don't have to wait, and it was crowded when I went. And I heard there were long lines at other ones, so it was a great turnout. I think the percentage is going to be very high.
Well, for the state of California, I think we're on the verge. We may have set a record for voter turnout.
I can believe it. Yeah, just based on the numbers I was hearing, people were going and doing the poll checking this afternoon too, and some of them couldn't even keep up with them. The precinct workers couldn't keep up with it, so it was exciting.
Well, Lisa, we just want to thank you very much. Thank you.
So
all right, this is great. Republican headquarters is where we are, and we're going to stay here until the job is done. Until we say, you know what, it's time to bring it to a close. But you can obviously see we'll try to get a word with the runners. They have been leading, both Sharon and George, in their respective races. So it's been exciting stuff, and our coverage will continue. But Lila, Jennifer, you can see the place is packed, and we are just going like crazy. Now, I happen to be getting a call about Measure R. Hang on 1 second. Go ahead, Newton. How are you doing on Measure R? Right on. You're still waiting for the results of Measure R. They're waiting for that to come down. We're going to send